5 a.m. I'm up with a crisp Celsius energy drink. Running 12 miles today. Grab a green juice, quick change, and head to work. Meetings, workshops. One more Celsius, no slowing down. Working late, but obviously still meeting the girls for a little dancing. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Amy.
Amy is joining us as our wonderful guest host today. Allie and I had massive scheduling conflicts. It was my fault. I had to fly to Florida. We're not going to get into details. I am here. I am in Florida. Amy is in New York. But we're not talking about anything stateside. We're going to do an entire episode. The front half is going to be WSL, and the back half is going to be Champions League. And we're very excited about it. We watched different games this weekend. You watched more than me.
I watched 2 full games. Yes.
And I watched one, and surprisingly to everybody, it wasn't the Arsenal one. Because I just love Allie and Mike so much, I did watch West Ham and Brighton. And for those of you who watched the WSL this weekend, that is a little foreshadowing. We're going to talk about that. We're going to definitely talk about the Arsenal City match, and whatever else we come on to, we'll find some things. All right, let's talk WSL, Amy, because there was a lot of table movement. There's a lot to be talked about right now, including the fact that if Chelsea hadn't really crapped the bed last week, Arsenal might have helped them out slightly this weekend with a 1-0 win over City, which I think was unexpected for everybody. Arsenal handed City their second loss on the season. City are still pretty much out of reach. You maybe don't agree. Shall we start there?
Well, I wouldn't even say for Manchester United. I don't think it's obtainable for Manchester United. I don't think we have. With the new signings, maybe we have the squad depth, but I just don't think we do have the squad depth to be able to compete for Champions League and Premier League. I think we've seen that there's a little bit of thinness in Man United's squad, but
that's always been their issue. I'm not going to lie. It's like, when are they going to build up a bench?
Yeah. I think that it's interesting now because you guys talked about this last week, how they need to lose all their games against the big clubs. And so they've lost their first game against Arsenal and they still have to play Manchester United. It's a huge game, and that's going to be United's home game, which we owe them.
It's on a hope and a prayer, though, is what we're saying. Like, United has to beat them. Tottenham has to beat them. That's only 6 points right there, though. And if you look at the standings, United are 7 points. Can I do math? No, 8 points back from City.
I just like to make it interesting and try and come up with something that might be interesting because nobody wants the league to be over already. Like, you know, it's often over too quickly when we've been watching it recently because of Chelsea's domination. So it's nice to have somebody else.
We were texting about this. Dare we root for City? How is this possible? We find ourselves rooting for City and happy that City's going to win the league because it's been Chelsea the whole time. What a bleak place to be.
I don't think I want City to win it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, I think that. I think you and I had this conversation over text. Out of any team that I would want besides Manchester United, obviously I want Manchester United to win the league. Like, let's not get it wrong. That's the only team I want to win the league. But if there was a secondary option, it would be Arsenal. I'd want Arsenal to win it over Manchester City. Like, I don't know. I just have this, because Arsenal's been the standout women's team for so long. They were the trendsetters. They were the ones who were leading the way from the beginning, right? Yeah. They were the only team in the land.
It's part of why, if you would ask me why Arsenal, it's a lot of that. They were the first club to be like, we're going to invest in the women. There's money here. This can be something. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that for me, it's like I've watched all of these Arsenal documentaries as well because they do make a really good documentary. I watched the Mead ACL one. I watched that. That was so nice. Well done.
That one kind of disappointed me. I'm not going to lie. I'm surprised you liked it because you work in sports medicine. So it's like, I'm guessing you didn't learn anything from that.
I don't want to learn anything. I learn all day I'm dealing with the same thing. Why do I want to learn anything? I want to watch their emotional journey.
Okay, that's
It's
where
the
I went
emotional
wrong.
journey.
I went into it being like, I want to learn more about ACL prevention, and I felt like I didn't learn anything. But I enjoyed their emotional journey, certainly.
Well, that's a huge part of ACL recovery is the emotional toll it takes on you. So I think from their standpoint, just yeah, could we have seen more rehab stuff? Of course, but like I think it was basically based around the fact that they were trying to show how difficult this injury was to recover from mentally and what they were doing to help each other. And you could, there were some other players involved in the situation, and because there was a lot of them at the time that had torn their ACL. Williamson and Weinrother was one of them, right?
Yeah, they kind of took her in under their wing as like their little child. It was very sweet.
It was sweet, and it was a nice documentary. It was just it was kind of feel good, and when they were going through a crappy time in their life, it was like, okay, we're coming together and we're gonna make this documentary so you guys can see what we're going through.
Way to make me look like the asshole for saying I didn't like it that much. I guess what a wonderful transition though, because of the two of them, as we saw in the documentary, we saw Miedema was kind of having a slower progression even throughout that documentary, and she's had a tougher time getting back from injury, getting back from that ACL. I think she's had to deal with so many just like small injuries since then. Obviously, making the move from Arsenal over to City, it just feels like we hadn't seen her back at her peak in a long time. Getting back to the City Arsenal game, or the Arsenal City game, sorry, because it was at the Emirates. Miedema, back at her peak and more. Like in this lineup, it's everything. I think she was existing so much on the wing, and she can play really well on the wing, but I love her as the 10. I love her as the 10.
What a player! Still, she's only 29, so she's still got life left, right? We see Miedema as kind of like an old head. She's been in the game for a long time, and she has because she came into the game so young. And then obviously she was fantastic for such a long period of time for Arsenal and the Netherlands, and then she got the ACL injury, and it's taken her a long time to get where she wants to be in terms of her just her level of fitness, but also her getting back to what she was doing best on the pitch. And Arsenal kind of did push her out at that point, saying kind of, we're not going to play you in your preferred position because because of the injuries, but they're not going to come out and say that, I don't think. And she wasn't up to the standards that she was previously, and they weren't willing to give her the time to get there. So, and sometimes you just can't take that time. But Manchester City did take a chance on her because she is a fantastic football player, phenomenal football player. And it's really, a good. City did a really good thing here in trusting that she was going to come back around, and she has. I watched the game, the Arsenal City game in its entirety, and she's just fantastic. Like they lost the game, okay, yeah, but she's so good on the ball, and her touch is just like magic. They've got a lot of players in that team who have a fantastic first touch. But yeah, she's just. We were talking right before we started. There was an incident in the game which looked like it might have been a penalty, but wasn't. Katie McCabe in the box, but she's just capable of changing games, and that could have been a game-changing moment. But McCabe made a good tackle, so yeah, it's really nice to see her back out there and being part of that really, really dangerous front line of Caroline, Bunny Shaw, and her, and Hemp on the left as well is such a formidable force. Yeah,
what a front! Like. So we saw this she got some time under Jonas at Arsenal as the number 10, and it was only because Arsenal were playing so poorly that they couldn't even progress the ball to get it up at Vivianne Miedema's feet. And it was like, okay, well, if you can't get it to Vivianne Miedema, move her back. So they moved her back and put her at the 10, and she was utterly fantastic because it's just the basic concept of if your best player can't get on the ball, you have to find a way to get them on the ball. So that's what they did. So I love to see her in this role as a 10 in City and in this front line, because I think she got all of her flowers as a goal scorer, but she didn't quite get her flowers for what else she can do on the field, which is, in my opinion, equally as good as her goal scoring ability.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. And I think that this whole game, from start to finish, was a very tactical battle. I know you didn't watch the whole game, but I'm going to tell you that it was a battle in the midfield as well. There was such a battle between Caldente,
You know, I'm still going to watch the replay because from the highlights I saw, I was like, this was good football. This was really good football. I rarely get to see Arsenal in this form because they have like 1 or 2 games a year where they play in this kind of form. So I will watch it. And I obviously saw the Caldente move foul that we're going to come on to as well.
Oh yeah, that's another talking point we have to get onto. But Hasegawa is an absolute joy to watch, absolute joy. I don't know if you've watched. There's a video just floating around online on socials of her just juggling the ball across the pitch, and it looks like she's kind of like levitating across the pitch the way she jogs it. It's Maradona-esque. It is unreal, but she's an exceptional footballer who does not lose the football. Not She very rarely will give the ball away. And then she was joined in the second half by Coffee, and Coffee had a really good second half as well. Just want to say that. I don't often give the US national team players props, but I will say that she had a very good second half. She was breaking up the play, and the momentum sort of shifted a little bit in the second half on about, I say, around the 60th minute mark. It was a little bit of a shift, and City really grew into the game and started to create more chances, and that actually coincided with the denial of the goal scoring opportunity, which we'll talk about as well. But let's talk about Arsenal for a minute, shall we?
Well, let's talk about that goal scoring, the denial of the goal scoring. We might as well. We might as well. For those who watched, you probably know what we're talking about. For those who didn't, if you want to go to the full match, it's around the 60th minute. Who was it? Bunny shot. Lauren Hemp on the ball. Mariana Caldente is trying to chase her down. Obviously can't do it. And as a last-ditch effort, it looked pretty intentional. Even if it wasn't, it was a very clear clipping of the back foot from behind. Lauren Hemp goes down. It was just outside the 18, so it would never have been a penalty. But there was certainly nobody on defense behind Mariana Caldente, probably in line with Caldente, but Lauren Hemp was utterly shocked. I agree with you, what you said, that's a red card all day long. She should have been sent off, and that would have changed the course of the game. Whether it would have changed the score, who knows, but it certainly would have changed what happened on the field.
I think shocked and disbelief was everybody's like opinion. It wasn't just Lauren Hemp. It was like everybody was like, what? Even the commentators were kind of like, what has happened here? And immediately when a big decision happens like that, there's a flash to the referee, and you're thinking, what is the referee seeing here that everybody else has clearly seen this as a denial of goal scoring opportunity? Why has the ref not seen that and decided not to give it? And I know that there's always this debate about, okay, well, let's keep football pure. The women's side is pure. VAR isn't being used as much, and then we get these decisions, and it's like, but VAR would have seen that. And I'm not advocating for players to be sent off. I don't think that it does change the game. But
yeah,
Caldente's tackle was a denial of a goal scoring opportunity. It wasn't a penalty, but she would have been sent off. And it would have been sad for her because she had a fantastic game. But you've got to go by the letter of the law, no? Like, and what's the lineswoman doing? Hello, you're looking across the line. Like, are you also not giving any feedback here? You can see that's a clear foul. So I don't know between the two of them how they haven't made that decision. And again, are we asking for VAR in these situations because the Emirates is a stadium that has VAR, but then you have to be consistent and have VAR across the board at all the stadia. So
this is a really great, snapshot of where the WSL is right now, though, because in many ways they're leading the charge, and in many ways they're so far behind. And it's a really weird dichotomy that they have where they're going to pay the most money for a player and they don't have VAR set up. It's a really odd dichotomy. But such is the growth of women's soccer, and such is the growth of a sport. I feel like I don't need to say much about Arsenal. The only thing I want to ask about Arsenal in this game is that gorgeous goal. And my only question, and I think other people thought this while they were watching that goal, how did Mariana Caldente not win the Ballon d'Or? That is the only thing that went through my brain when I saw it. Because I saw, like, the first thing I saw, because it's hard to avoid spoilers. So I wake up and I see the goal first thing when I open Instagram. Absolutely stunning team goal. And the first thing I thought was, I don't understand how this woman didn't win the Ballon d'Or.
I don't understand why. I mean, I understand why the Ballon d'Or was given to Bonmati, but I don't understand it in another breath. Like, I get that Barcelona were the most successful team in their league, okay? I get that. But they didn't win the Champions League, and Spain didn't win the Euros. So I don't understand why she was given this honour. Like, okay, I could understand if Caldente won the Ballon d'Or because Arsenal won the Champions League. And Caldente was part of this amazing, legendary Barcelona team that is still going, right? And still has many, many great players in it. And I think she was lost in that for a long time because she was just not as standout as the others were, right? She wasn't Putellas and she wasn't Bonmati. And so she was like a little bit, she was kind of overlooked as like, okay, this player is really good. And then you put her into an Arsenal team that was begging for somebody like her, right? Creative, just totally dominates the ball when she has it. Again, somebody who never gives it away. And she's brought sort of like her culture to Arsenal as well. And alongside Kim Little, they play similar styles of football, and that you can see that for the goal. The way they combined out of the back, very patient, and then it was a little give and go, and then Caldente's free all of a sudden, and then it's ball in behind, perfect weight on the pass, perfect curl into the path, and you've got to have somebody quick to get in there to do that. And Smith is, and the finish was also exceptional, taking it around the goalkeeper, very cool and calm, and finishing it. But I think Caldente was overlooked for years because of the fact that she wasn't a standout, but now she's at Arsenal, she is the standout, right? Next to, you could argue that they have some other players, like Williamson is an unreal football player, Kim Little's an unreal football player, Russo I think is, and I've said this before to you, but I think she's the best striker in the world. We could go into that, but
Amy literally texted me and said, Alessia Russo is the best striker in the world. And I said, I love her, but she's not the best striker in the world. And then I sat and I thought to myself, well, then who is? And I'm running through all of these number 9s in my head, and I was like, my God, it might just be Alessia Russo. When a healthy Sophia Smith comes back, Sophia Wilson, sorry, who knows? But in this moment in time, it just might be. Yeah.
Yeah, she proved her like versatility, and not to take this to Russo, but she proved her versatility in the game on Sunday by playing in the 10.
Which is not where I would have put her. I would have been like, no. She's not 10 capable. Like, she's a striker. She's an over-the-top player. She's a back-to-the-goal player. And then number 10 has to know how to face up and pull the strings. I didn't know she could do that.
She did it well, too. And she's really, she's underrated in how she keeps possession. And she's dropping into even to the centre midfield positions and picking up the ball. And, just to really appreciate that part of her game and how versatile she can be. And anyway, back to Caldente, because that's what we were talking about. So I think that she was hugely, hugely important in the Champions League win, and I still think that there's not enough emphasis placed on how good that Champions League win was. Like how, you watched the documentary? Did you watch the documentary? Did you watch it?
I still haven't seen it yet. I'm so sorry. It's because I need to wait for a moment where I can sit down and I can do nothing but watch it in its entirety. I don't want to split it up. I want to binge the whole thing. And so I haven't found a moment for that.
Okay, well, you should find a moment, because obviously I binged it in one day, and it gives you a really good insight into Renee Schlager's. First of all, really love her. If you watch the documentary, you also love her and what she does and how she stands behind the players and brings them belief and wills them to believe in themselves. And you can see it in the players that they really trust her, and they trust that she's going to, deliver for them, and they're going to deliver for her. But the documentary is really great, and I think that it brings in all the emotions of football, and it made me want to be an Arsenal fan because of that feeling. And I know I've had that feeling before with the men's team, Manchester United men's team, win the Champions League, but the feeling of euphoria winning the Champions League, I just think it wasn't, I don't know, I don't think it was like recognized how much of it was overlooked how much of an achievement this was. Like,
it was. I think people saw it as a fluke. I think people saw it as a Champions League run because they had been in, no, I'm not going to say they were in poor form in the league, but they certainly weren't in an incredible form where people were watching them and saying, like, this team's going to win the Champions League. I think that plays into it. And then I just think that because of that with every step of the way. And I'm one of them. Like I would look at their matchups in the Champions League and be like, I don't know how we're going to do this. And they continued to do it. And they did it in pretty dramatic fashion as well, if I remember correctly. There were a lot of moments where it looked like they were down and out, and they pulled it out. And I think that's another reason it gets overlooked, because people, I think, look at the run and see them as this team that was just kind of like hanging on by a thread every single weekend and managed to do it in the one game that they needed to do it in. But that's not what it was at all.
It's not true. And people who are listening and watching us right now should really go and watch this documentary. If you're a football fan, a women's football fan, it's a really good watch. Even if you're a Tottenham fan, you probably appreciate it. You know, I don't mind watching like other documentaries, because I want to appreciate like also the tactical aspect of the game, what goes into the tactics that they're doing, what they're talking about with the players. The psychological aspects of things. There's just things that you can learn, right? What's happening on a game day? What's happening on a training day? What aren't we appreciating as people? We're all here. We're critics. We're talking about football. We're talking about what they should do, what they should, but we're not really behind the scenes. So this is a good example of being behind the scenes and understanding what it takes to win a Champions League and be the only team in England to have won the Champions League.
All right. Not that I don't want to talk about Arsenal for longer and how they won the Champions League. We need to talk about the West Ham Brighton game. We just do. And I know that it feels like, or I don't know if other people feel like this, I'm feeling a little like the bottom of the table is less bottom of the table exciting right now, because we don't know how many teams are going. We don't know if anybody's going down. It could be one team. It could be no teams. So it could end up that nobody's relegated. But this kind of a battle is so exciting. West Ham were sitting in last place. And then at halftime, they were still sitting in last place. They were down 1-0 to Brighton at home at West Ham. Brighton put a second goal away. For those of you who didn't watch this, spoilers are coming, but I think it's worth it. And honestly, the game felt down and out. It seemed like West Ham were all but done. Brighton were having more and more opportunities, creating more and more chances, and it just seemed like it was over. And suddenly, well, a lot happened, but I'm just going to say something happened. Let's go through this quickly and let's get into the details. West Ham scored 3 goals in the last 9 minutes of the game, from the 82nd minute through the 91st minute, to take down Brighton 3-2. I don't know how much West Ham you've watched, Amy, but I just need to give Vivian Asay her props. Plays on the left wing, wears the captain's armband. And it's not just because she scored the game winner. It is because the entirety of the game, she was the one driving, creating opportunities. The only attack was really coming down her left wing and her left side. She was absolutely fantastic. She, in my opinion, was the player of the game. She's the reason West Ham were able to emotionally stay in it, and she's the reason they won on an emotional basis and on a tactical basis, and then literally when you look at the scoreboard. She was absolutely outstanding. Do I think that 2 out of the 3 goals from West Ham were perhaps massive mistakes on the part of Brighton's keeper? I really do. But that's not to take anything away from West Ham, who also, by the way, with this win, now sit in 10th place. They've got 11 points. Liverpool's behind them with 10 points, and Leicester City is in last with 9.
Well, to answer your question, I do not watch West Ham. Sorry, Ali. They're not top of my list of teams to watch, and I think there's valid reasons behind that, and I think that even the most diehard of West Ham fan would probably say fair play.
I didn't say it was a beautiful football game. I said it was a wild scoreline.
I'm a little bit shocked that Brighton collapsed as readily as they did. I mean, momentum can swing in a football game, and one goal can change everything. And it seems like one player really changed everything for West Ham. I don't know how much Ali could probably speak to more about this, but how much the sign of Katie Zelem has done for West Ham or not done for West Ham.
I mean, Ali, of course, can speak to this much more than I can, and I will ask them next week for sure. But let's just, to keep it as a part of this game, Katie Zelem is, and this is I feel like I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, but I'm going to say this with all respect to all players. But Katie Zellum on that field is in a class of her own. She is playing balls through, finding pockets, lifting balls over the top. Like the way she was distributing, it was the clear definition of somebody sitting in the middle of the park and just pulling the strings of the Brighton defense.
I mean, obviously, I've watched her play for many years. She's just a Manchester United captain, and she did play that role very, very well for us. So, I mean, she was surrounded by a higher caliber of player at Man United, but to do it at West Ham is we always say that could Messi do it on a cold, dark, damp night in Stoke? Could Katie Zellum do it at Dagenham Redbridge playing for West Ham?
And she can. I think that the introduction into the game of Kat Gorey was huge because she's such a defensive presence, and I think that freed Katie Zellum up a little bit more. Instead of worrying about her defensive duties, she was able to step forward and pull some strings and play a little bit more attacking oriented, and I think West Ham can take that and run with it. I also think that, as we've mentioned before on this podcast, Shakira Martinez is a revelation, and she adds an element to that attacking line. And I think, West Ham, when they got Katie Zellum on the ball and she was able to pick apart some defenses, they looked like a team that was much better than their record. And I think across the year, they are a team that was better than their record. And Allie, I will stop talking about West Ham because I'm sure we're going to talk about this next week. So I will stop and I will allow the expert to do so we're not being redundant. But
well, you have another game to talk about next week. So, I mean, we could still just mention that they are 2 points above the relegation position, which is not a lot. And it's not a lot in football because, as much as we want to say West Ham are clear, they're not clear of the relegation zone, and it's still between, I would say, Everton could get sucked back into it quite easily as well. So there's still 4 teams. I say Aston Villa's probably clear of it now. There's still 4 teams that could probably be involved, and Liverpool's signing of Denise O'Sullivan is a good sign-in as well. Both teams have signed 2 good centre mids. And I think
fans, listen to me, and you probably know Liverpool fans because you probably know a lot about Denise O'Sullivan, but you got a good one there, a real good one. She is one of the most underrated players, I think, to ever play in the NWSL. She'll change games. You don't know it until she comes off the field, and then you're wondering what has happened to my team. Why are they playing so much worse? Why can't they connect passes? It's because Denise O'Sullivan isn't on the field anymore. She is that caliber good.
Yeah, she never got the props that she really deserved in the NWSL because she was just quietly getting on with her business, and just making the midfield tick over. But I always thought that she was fantastic, and I think the Liverpool have got a really good player, even though she's coming, towards the end part of her career. She's still a phenomenal player, and I think that might set West Ham and Liverpool apart from Leicester. Just that those 2 sign-ins alone could be the reason why. Which will, it'll be disappointing if Leicester do go down. I mean, they might not, but this whole relegation qualification.
How do you
thing
feel?
Is weird.
I haven't gone to ask you about this. Yeah, speaking of relegation qualification, so a quick reminder to everybody: the WSL is expanding to 14 teams. That's 2 more than they have right now. So the top 2 teams of the championship will be promoted, and then there will be a playoff game between the last place WSL team and the 3rd place championship team, meaning that we could have no WSL teams relegated. We could have one. How do you feel about expansion? How do you feel about this play-in game?
I'm for expanding the league. I think that's positive. So yes, for expansion. This playing game's a little bit weird, and I understand why they have to go the route of 14 teams.
But why not just add 2? Why do you have to? I know, because if you're an English football fan and there's no relegation, what are we doing? So there has to be at least a threat of relegation.
But the threat of relegation is fine, but also there's the yo-yo effect, right? So Leicester goes down, they come back up, the other team goes down. There has to be sustainability, and I think that they're trying to make sure that it's the right teams in the right divisions for now. and that the teams that come up can stay there and compete, because there's been a lot of that. Remember Bristol City? That is the type of situation you want to avoid, right?
But do you really think that this playoff game will really eliminate some of that yo-yo effect?
Well, I don't think that. So you said it's the top two teams that come up, right? And so the third place team, I would say potential has the potential to be a yo-yo team. I would say that. I don't think the third place team in the championship is like a WSL level right now. Sorry, it's not the championship. It's the WSL 2.
The WSL 2. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
just make it easier. Come on, guys.
Right now, just to bring it full circle, the third place team at this exact moment is Bristol City.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for I'm excited for the prospect of more teams, and I hope that it doesn't divide the league totally into like a top and a bottom half. That would also be my fear, because I think that the middle part of the league is definitely catching the top part of the league. And I know you didn't watch Tottenham Chelsea this weekend, but I did. What an absolutely dire game, to be honest. It was not great.
Were you really surprised? Were you really surprised?
I'm surprised by how bad Chelsea are. I just like I can't...
Oh yeah, but I mean, for the past 2 weeks they've been that bad.
No, I just think this whole season. I don't think they've been good all season. I think they've been just...
They've been extra bad the past 2 weeks, though. They haven't been good all season, but they've been extra bad the past 2 weeks.
They look disjointed. Mm-hmm. They don't look like there's any urgency. There's something not right at Chelsea. There's just something not right. There really is. You can see it on the pitch that the players don't seem to be...
Ali said last week that Millie Bright spoke out publicly, basically, against Hannah Hampton. Anytime you have that happening, things are not right in the locker room. And I don't care what people say. Like, I know Carly Lloyd's come out and been like, you can win a World Cup and you don't have to like each other. Like, listen, that's in the rarest of rarest incidences. Usually, we can all tell what's a real team and what's not, because it translates onto the field in many, many different ways. And something's not right in that locker room. And it doesn't matter how much talent they bring in, something's not right in that locker room, and more talent won't fix it.
No, and I'm sure you've played in teams where there's people there you don't like or you don't get on with. You don't, but you know what? When you step on the pitch, you go to battle with each other. You go to battle together. At the end of the day, like, you win the game together. I'm going to celebrate with that person. It doesn't matter if I don't like you off the pitch. I love you on the pitch, and we're like a team, and we're together. So, for Millie Bright to throw Hannah Hampton under the bus is immature. It's so immature, and you're the captain of the football club. And Millie Bright, I'm sorry, but your life has been a cluster this whole year. I don't know what is happening with you, but you really should not be throwing stones in glass houses. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't know what goes on in her life. But Hannah Hampton won the Euros for England with many of her performances, and whatever's going on at club level, she's a great goalkeeper. Maybe she's not everybody's cup of tea, but you as the captain have to defend her and stand by her. You can't do that. And I know you talked about this last week, but that was when I listened to the show, I was like, my feelings are, get it together, stop being immature. You are a grown woman at the end of your career. Like, come on.
Big time. You're tarnishing your own legacy at this point. To end on the Chelsea-Tottenham, Chelsea still won 2-0. So, I mean, is this the beginning of the fall off for Tottenham in this season? Because that's what it seems to me. And I'm kind of waiting. I've been waiting really, because at the start of January, I'm like, this is usually when Tottenham start to fall from where they'd climb to. And so far, they've proved me right. I would like them to not, because I'm really loving this big race for Champions League, but they seem to be poorer and poorer each week. How were Tottenham?
I don't think they're going to get Champions League, I'll say that. But
I don't think you're in the minority. But if you look at the standings, like, they're certainly in the running. Like you said, the middle is catching the top, and they are at the forefront of that, like, middle pack.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the Tottenham have had a really good season. And I think I said this on the podcast before. I think they've had a good season and they deserve their props. And, too many times it's been, Tottenham, fall off, and let's hope that they don't fall off. I mean, there's been some big disappointments for them. The cup final against Man United a few years ago was a huge disappointment. They got absolutely annihilated. North London derbies when they've been disseminated by Arsenal. I think that, if they've got to be consistent and show that they're not going to get blown off the face of the earth. Then I'll take Tottenham Hotspur seriously. You can't lose, 4-5-0 and think that, okay, we're a serious club. Because, I mean, okay, granted, City took Chelsea apart last week, but that was an outlier of a game. It doesn't really happen too frequently. But I don't think Tottenham are going to fall off. I think that they're good value for sticking around where they are. I don't think they're going to make Champions League. They've got some fixtures that are interesting though. They still play City, they still play Arsenal, and they still play Man United. I think that they're going to want to owe Man United a little bit from the game where we came back to draw against them. That was a really weird game, actually, but not to bring it back to Man United. But I thought Tottenham created some chances in this game. They've got really exciting player in Holt, who's super good. I think we should watch more of her. She's very good. And then Chelsea were boring. Chelsea were boring.
They are. They've been boring. If there's one word to describe them this year, it's boring. They're just boring.
Boring. They've got a lot of injuries. I'll give them that, but they're just boring.
There's no fire. There's no drive. It's slow.
I miss Mara Ramirez.
Oh, I miss Myra Ramirez too. If I could have Myra Ramirez in every soccer game I watched, I would be happy camper. She's a fun player to watch. And it also starts to show you, I mean, we knew at the time how important she was to Chelsea, but it really does show you how important she was to Chelsea.
I miss Sam Kerr too. I miss Sam Kerr.
I know. Before. Do we think she'll re-find? Do you think, speaking of ACL, just to bring it full circle, I suppose, to finish this off, Sam Kerr is 32 years old now? I can confirm this via Google really quickly. Sam Kerr is, yes, 32 years old. Do we think she'll be able to re-find her form, or do you think that we're just going to get kind of like the version of Sam Kerr towards the end of her career for the rest of it? It's a tough time to tear the ACL. Yeah.
It gets harder the older you are, obviously, but also she is in this part of her life where she's had a baby, she's got married, and it's like, is that drive for football still there? Is that still at the forefront of your life? Because I don't know, I think that there's more priorities that are pressing for her versus it being like football is everything, like we change in our lives, we go through things that, feel more important. But and
I remember her saying in a documentary a while ago, I don't remember which one it was because I've watched a couple of documentaries about Sam Kerr and on Sam Kerr and just like with her in front of the camera, and she was talking to a fellow player and she was asking, it was kind of the question of like, they're talking about retirement, but it's like far in the future because I think they're in the mid-20s at this point. This might have been her documentary that she made when she was recovering from her first ACL tear, like very, very early on in her career. And Sam Kerr specifically said, I think that my mind will give out before my body, which is interesting now talking about this, where it's like, I don't believe she would be there if her mind wasn't there. But I also hear what you're saying, that it's like at a certain point, you just have other priorities. Like if you have to get up at 2 a.m. with your baby, you got to get up at 2 a.m. with your baby. But I don't want to use her child as a reason that she wouldn't come back to her fullest. That feels a little sexist.
No, I don't think it's that either, but I just think, your priorities do shift the older you get. And, when I realized it was my time to hang up my boots in my recreational women's soccer league.
Amy just retired, everybody.
I retired in June, last year, so not just.
It still feels recent to me. We're all still digesting it.
Yeah, we are, including me, when I had a little bit of a moment on the train earlier, and I was like, "Oh, you retired." And you did a whole speech after your retirement, and it was like, "Did you really take all that in?" Yeah, so it just. Let's see. Let's give her the opportunity to come back, though, because we have to give her the grace that we've given all of the other footballers who've torn their ACL, including Leah Williamson, who again has just come back after another knee issue. So I'm hoping that that's the end of it for her, because
she's had a tough road too. Very, very. Her and Vivian Miedema seem to have shared a lot of similarities in their journey, where it just seems to be nonstop. since their ACL tear, just like little things here and there.
What a football player she is, though, Williamson.
Truly.
Let's hope she can stay.
The both of
stay
them.
fit.
I think we'll see them both in the World Cup, honestly, in Brazil. I'm not worried. To finish the episode off, to close out our WSL Minisode episode, we're going to tack on a little bit of Champions League, because let's talk about European leagues. Let's just keep talking about Europe here. Champions League, it's restarting. Finally, we get some games in 2026. Amy, we haven't seen them since mid-December. They're kicking back off. It's all restarting, and we're now out of what we'll call the table phase, the group phase, whatever we want to call that first part. And we're now into bracket phase, which is very exciting. And they start this Wednesday. Today, when this episode drops, there will be 2 games today and 2 games tomorrow. This is the play-in. So this is like the playoffs. There are 8 teams. There's 4 matchups. The winner of these will then advance and play the 4 teams that got byes into the quarterfinals. So the 4 teams that got byes into the quarterfinals are Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Chelsea, and Lyon. So we will not see those 4 teams playing in these playoff matches. What we will see are some pretty fun matchups instead. And Amy, I feel like you should take it from here, because is the United one the best one, do you think?
I mean, you can argue it's United Atletico is interesting, but probably, yeah, I mean, I think Juventus Wolfsburg is also interesting.
I told you before we recorded, that's the one I had circled for sure.
Yeah, that's gonna, because that's the 6 and 7, so that's always going to be the tightest matchup, the most closely matched game. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, and how the table is kind of the only disappointing team I'd say in the whole table was PSG, and they were incredibly disappointing. But you have to be sort of pretty rubbish to not qualify, because 12 teams qualify and out of 18. So I think that everybody who qualified should have qualified, bar PSG, and they're just not very good this season, is the bottom line. I think Man United versus Atletico is going to be a really, really good matchup, and I think we played them already in the league. Yeah, and we beat them.
So the Atletico United game is on Thursday, so is the Wolfsburg Juventus game. I think that's going to just be the best day of football, honestly, that we have. Very exciting for this. And then we have Paris FC versus Real Madrid. That will be a great one. That's on Wednesday. And OH Leuven against Arsenal, also on Wednesday. This is how the matchups lay out, which I'm really excited about. And then we're going to go back and I'm going to make us make picks and how we think each leg is going to turn out. Or not each leg, just this leg. Because now that we're in the playoffs, obviously there's 2 legs of each. So we'll just do this leg. Really quickly, though, the winner of Atletico Madrid United will go on to play Bayern Munich. The winner of Paris FC Real Madrid will play Barcelona. The winner of OH Leuven and Arsenal will play Chelsea. And the winner of Wolfsburg Juventus will play Lyon. All right. Now let's talk about matchups this week. Wednesday, 2 games. The first one at 12:45 Eastern is OH Leuven hosting Arsenal. I can't speak to OH Leuven because I have not seen them play, but I'm tempted to just say Arsenal. But wouldn't it be the way Arsenal went down though?
It'd be hilarious. But I just went on to like my FootMob app, and I like clicked on OH Leuven and nothing comes up. There's 0 information for them. So I can't even see like how they've done in the previous games, because it won't give me any information, which is kind of rubbish. It's rubbish. Get it together, FootMob. Like, it's supposed to be a good app. Arsenal have far too much firepower to lose this game. Far too much. They will not lose this game. I can't see it.
It would be embarrassing.
They won't. Sure. They won't lose this game. There's no way.
Even though they're away, because Arsenal are playing away.
That doesn't matter. I don't think that's going to count for any different.
All right, the other Wednesday game is Paris FC against Real Madrid. Paris FC hosting.
That's going to be a tough game. It's a tough one to call. I would say I would go with Paris FC to beat Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid have a collapse in them, as we saw with Arsenal last season. They absolutely got destroyed at the Emirates. I think that I don't know. I think Paris will beat them in France, and then I think it'll be probably a different story in Spain. But the first leg, I'll go with Paris.
I think I'm going Real Madrid. I think we're going to count them out because of the collapse, because they're not Barcelona. But I don't know. They played well against Barcelona, I thought, in the Supercopa in January. Obviously, they still lost, but it was only 2-0. And I mean, it's still Barcelona. And I just haven't been fully impressed with Paris FC either. So it's a combination of the two of them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been fully impressed by Paris FC either, but I don't know. I think that there's something to be said about home advantage for this one.
All right, let's move on to Thursday. The early game is Wolfsburg hosting Juventus. And this is so tight, I honestly think the home team might just win each leg. And then it'll come down to scoreline. Wolfsburg have been teetering, though, and they've been kind of bleeding players. I'm still going to go with Wolfsburg.
Yeah, I can't see Wolfsburg losing this game either.
I mean, they're not doing great in the league. You look at how far behind Bayern they are. There's a massive gap. It's 9 points, I think it is.
Yeah, well, Juventus aren't even doing that great in their league either. So they're in third.
That's true. They're in third.
I mean,
and they're the only Italian side left, for the record. As you mentioned, Roma didn't even qualify for this round.
Right. Wolfsburg. I go with Wolfsburg on this one. I mean, they beat us. They beat Man United quite convincingly after a decent-ish start to the game. They beat us. So I think that they just have too much firepower for them in Germany. I think that they'll beat them in Germany, and I think that they'll probably see it out in Italy as well. I don't think there's going to be a problem.
All right, the final one.
United.
United at Atletico Madrid, and you're going United.
We beat them at Atletico in the group. I don't know why people think this is a big deal.
But do you think you can do it twice?
Yes. Why not? Like, have you seen our squad? Our squad is good now. We've got a decent squad.
Listen, I also think United's going to win. If they can continue the form that they've been in, continue the form that they were in Champions League, there's no problem. And Atletico Madrid, for the record, have really fallen off in the Spanish league. They're sitting in 5th place behind Barcelona, Real Madrid, Sociedad, Tenerife, and then it's Atletico Madrid sitting all the way down there. So I think that also speaks volumes. United will have way too much for them. I'm confident. I really am. I think our whole lineup from front to back is better than their lineup, and we have a lot of firepower going forwards, and the addition of Zigiotti Omo in the middle has been class. She has been class. And I'll say, going away for the first leg, kind of how you said about Wolfsburg before you knew they were home for the first leg, United really only need a draw, and I think they're golden. If they get a win, it's a cherry on top, but I think they really only need a draw, and they'll be solid.
Yeah, and the only downside is we're missing Toon for injury, but everybody else who's come in has done a good job, and I think, like I said, I don't think we have squad depth to compete on both fronts.
I was just about to say the death of United in Champions League will be the bench and the lack of the bench.
Well, unless he sacrifices in the league, which he's not going to do. He wants to qualify for the Champions League next year.
I was going to say it's too tight. You can't sacrifice in the league right now because you need Champions League next year. And you can't just put everything into Champions League and say, well, we'll win Champions League and then we'll qualify for Champions League. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, I think Man United will win this tie, and I think we'll advance, and then we play Bayern Munich in the next round. So that will be interesting.
Bayern will be formidable, though. That would be wild.
Germany is a hard place to go and win. I think Germany probably up there with going to Barcelona, right? Like that is tough. Bayern and Wolfsburg are just really hard places to go and get any sort of result. And once they have that lead as well, it's problematic to try and recuperate it in a home leg, you know. So, but anyway, we're getting one step ahead of ourselves. But I think Man United will take this over the 2 legs, and I think they'll beat them in Madrid as well.
All right. Today, Wednesday, and tomorrow, Thursday, and then again, running it back the following week, because this week is leg 1. The following week is leg 2, Wednesday and Thursday. All right, and that's it here for us at the Women's Soccer Show. Thank you as always for tuning in. We will see you next week. I've been Sarah.
I've been Amy.
Thanks, everybody.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.